All right, so we're going to talk about a pretty powerful spiritual idea today, but we're going to get there through a really unexpected story, a story from the world of pro basketball. You'll see how this idea of being set apart can be the key to winning, not just on the court, but, well, everywhere else too.
Okay, so let's go back in time a little bit, to 2020. I mean, you remember it. The entire world just stopped, right? COVID-19 shut everything down. No concerts, no school, no restaurants, and for sports fans, no NBA. The season just came to a screeching halt, and the league had this massive problem on its hands. How in the world do you finish a season? How do you crown a champion when there's a global pandemic going on?
Well, their answer was this wild idea, something nobody had ever even thought of before, the NBA bubble. And look, the scale of this thing was just mind-blowing. They took 22 teams, moved them all to Disney World for 3 whole months, and spent almost $200 million to make it happen. But here's the craziest part, the most incredible stat of all, zero. Zero positive COVID cases inside that bubble. It worked. It was an absolutely massive success.
So, what did it actually take? I mean, how did they pull this off? Let's go inside and take a look at the world they built. You have to understand, life inside the bubble was like nothing these guys had ever seen. It was a totally biosecure zone. I'm talking daily COVID tests, playing games in empty arenas with no fans, and absolutely no visitors. Players were completely cut off from their families, from the rest of the world, all under these super strict rules, and it was all for one reason, to save the season.
Okay, and this is where our whole story kind of pivots. Because this huge, expensive, really difficult experiment, it wasn't just about basketball. It's actually a perfect metaphor, a perfect picture of a much deeper spiritual idea.
So you got to ask the question, right? Why? Why go through all that trouble? Why spend almost $200 million? Why ask these incredible athletes to lock themselves away for months on end? What was the whole point?
The answer is actually really simple, but it's so powerful. The whole entire reason was to set the players apart. Seriously, that phrase right there, set apart, that's the key to everything we're talking about today.
And you have to get this. This separation, it wasn't a punishment. Not at all. It was all about protection. By setting them apart from the virus, they were giving them a clear shot to go after their goal, winning that championship ring. The isolation had a very, very specific purpose. Okay, so now let's bring it back to that big idea I mentioned at the start, the word holy. I know, it's a word that can feel kind of weird or, I don't know, intimidating. It's definitely misunderstood a lot of the time. Like when you hear the word holy, what do you think of? For a lot of people, it's, glowing lights, angels, maybe some sparkles, that kind of thing. And yeah, that might describe God's perfect holiness, but when it comes to us, the idea is actually way more practical, way more down to earth. Because at its absolute core, the word holy just means this, to be set apart, to be dedicated for a special purpose. Wait a second, does that sound familiar? It should. It's the exact same idea behind the NBA bubble.
Okay, let's make this even simpler. Forget basketball for a second. Think about blueberry muffins. You've got a whole tray of them, right? They're all pretty much the same. But then you take one muffin and you physically move it. You set it aside on a plate because you're saving it for your brother. That one muffin, it's different now. It's been chosen. It's been set apart for a specific purpose. And in that sense, that muffin is now holy.
So you see where this is going, right? We've gone from a massive sports experiment to a blueberry muffin. Now let's bring it into your life, especially if you're an athlete.
Here's the really big idea. Those NBA players, they were set apart for a championship trophy, something that's awesome, but it's temporary. So that leads to a huge question for us. If we're Christians, what are we set apart for?
It really comes down to which scoreboard you're looking at. There's the world scoreboard. That one's all about the roar of the crowd, right? It's about your stats, the trophies you win, the recognition you get. But then there's God's scoreboard, and that one focuses on totally different things. It's about your character, the effort you give, your humility. It is a completely different game, a completely different way to define a win.
So what does this actually look like on the ground? In the real world? Well, being set apart in sports means you play with everything you've got, like you're playing for God himself. It means you put your teammates first. It means showing grace to a ref who makes a bad call. It means your identity isn't tied to your last game, win or lose, but to who you are in Christ. That's the stuff that matters.
And all of this, it leads us to the ultimate prize, the real championship.
You know, a lot of people get this wrong. They think being holy or set apart is all about rules and restrictions, that it's about God trying to keep you from having fun, but that is so not what it's about.
No, it's just like the NBA bubble. It's not about keeping you from things, it's about protecting you for something, protecting you for a greater purpose. It shields you from all the stuff that can mess you up and distract you so that you're free to chase after a life of real joy and purpose.
The Apostle Paul actually nailed this idea thousands of years ago. He wrote that athletes train like crazy for a perishable crown, a trophy that's going to rust or be forgotten. But he says we're in a different race. We're running for an imperishable crown, a reward that lasts forever.
So here's where we land. The NBA bubble, it was a physical separation, and it was temporary, all for a temporary prize. But the call to be holy, that's a spiritual choice you make every single day for a prize that is eternal. So think about it. Your life is your court. How are you going to play it set apart?